Hello, this is the July issue of the Mover magazine. I want to give you a quick preview of what we've got in here this time. Probably the biggest story, I would think, is this one from Harmony. I went over to see the people at Harmony in the Netherlands recently. Interesting organisation. I knew very little about them, but I made the effort to go over there and see the guys, see Paul and the team there. And so I've written a bit of a story about them. I think you find it interesting. I know they've got some new members recently as well, so it's an organisation that's growing. We have there's a story in here too about G-Inter in Miami. They've started a household goods service in Miami. They bought Coco's International recently and they've started a household goods service there. So that's the story about that. Picture of Patrick O'Hara there as well. We've got the cover story this time is the Euromovers conference in Prague. Now many of you will have been to Prague. You know it's a great place to be. Euromovers is a nice organisation too. The conference is a smashing thing. It's quite small, very intimate, but there's a lot of good business done there. If you are entitled to go to the Euromovers conference and don't, then I would urge you that you do in future, because it's a good place to be. There's also two other conferences reported in here. There's the BAR conference in Bournemouth in the UK, and also the Britannia conference as well that's referred to. There's one other story that I wanted to draw your attention to quickly, and that is in the back of the magazine. There's one here that's called "Is £40 Enough?" And in the UK there is a principle that liability is limited to £40 per item unless the goods are separately insured. Well, that's been that way for many years, as long as I can remember actually. And if £40 was enough many years ago, it probably isn't it now, and it looks as if it's being challenged. And this is a story from a lawyer to explain a bit about that. So if you are in the UK and you are involved in that, then I urge you to read the story. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about as well, and that is that sometimes people have said to me, many times people have said to me, that the Mover magazine is very UK oriented. Well, it is and it isn't. It's published here, of course, because we're in the UK, and so we publish it here. And I suppose there is more information about the UK than any other single country. However, only about 60%, or only about 40% of our readers are in the UK. And that's partly because we have readers from the domestic market in the UK, as well as international. The other 60% of our readers are from elsewhere in the world and tend, of course, to be in the international market. So really, it's not really a UK-centric magazine in that sense. One little statistic that will back that up, and that is that out of the last 30 front covers that we've had, 16 of them have related to overseas events and overseas organisations. So it's very much a global publication, and that has been one of the reasons that sometimes I think companies from overseas are perhaps reluctant to contribute or to advertise with us, because they see that it's just for the UK market. It very much isn't. I wanted to dispel that myth. The magazine is for everybody, everywhere in the world, and we want contributions from around the world, and of course we need your advertising too, because that's what pays for the magazine. It's a free magazine, nobody pays to read it, and so we need that advertising revenue, and it's very important to get that from both the UK market but also from the overseas market, which we service. And as I say, 60% of the readers come from outside the UK. So I just want to put that myth to bed once and for all, because it really isn't true. Anyway, more about that. We've got some exciting things happening here at the Mover magazine that we're going to talk about a little bit later on, maybe in the next couple of months. But there's a lot coming up that is going to change the way that we communicate with you and make our offering more exciting and more commercially profitable for you. But I'll tell you more about that when I've got more to say, which will be in a couple of months' time. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.